Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 39 of the African Dude podcast. Today we go back into the world of tax, and tax is a good thing. Zakayo, even Jesus had to bring Zakayo down from that tree and tell him and embrace the tax collector. But Caine Wanjau, welcome to the African podcast.
Thank you, sir.
Caine is one of the co-founders of an outfit called DigiTax, and we'll talk about the compliance and tax in a Kenyan and African context and why it's important. Caine, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, Caine, let's start before we get into DigiTax.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, tax is not it's not something that you hear when you're in high school and people are talking about dreaming about what careers they have.
Yeah.
It's not something that makes the list often. So how do you find yourself as a tax-related man? Because you're not really a tax man.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. So, if I go way back to like my school days, my two favorite subjects in high school were commerce, which had components of accounting.
Yes.
And also computer studies.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the two subjects I really focused on. Mm. And as I, went through school, started my career, it always kept revolving and rotating around those two things. So I had a stint working in banking, but then most of my career has actually been in the technology space. But then my focus, or have always thought about what I can do, is really about solving challenges where I feel my skills can be put to good use.
Okay.
So the story of DigiTax goes back actually about 13, 14 years ago, where when I started business, I needed to generate a tax invoice. And those days we had ETR machines.
Yes.
And so if you know ETRs, it's like a scientific calculator. You have to go and really work on, on the transaction just to get the receipt. And I thought to myself, there's probably an easier way to do this.
Yes.
But at that time, a lot of this was really how it was defined by law and what was allowed.
Yeah.
So we said, I said to myself, let me keep this back of mind. And at some point down the road, I'll revisit it.
Before we get into DigiTax in detail.
Yes.
So after your love for commerce and stuff manifests in high school, where does that lead you? What do you go to study in uni? Where do you study?
Okay.
And do you then get employment or go into entrepreneurship direct? What journey do you take to get there?
Yeah, sure. So after high school, I spent 1 year in Japan. And that was interesting because this is back in the mid-2000s.
Yes.
And at that time, I was very interested in hardware and robotics.
How do you get to Japan?
So I was doing my research. And at that point, the best place in the world to learn hardware, robotics, anything to do with machinery, was Japan. So I said, okay, actually, I'd actually go there and actually see what is possible. So I spent 1 year there, learned the language, also did a few courses tied to hardware and robotics. And I was able to have a very successful 1 year.
Okay.
And then from there, I then moved over to Australia for 4 years.
Yes, for uni now.
Yes, for university. So that's where I did my undergraduate studies.
Yes. In what?
I studied a combination of robotics and software.
Okay.
So it's where hardware meets software.
Yes.
So I did robotics for 4 years. And then at the end of 2010, I came back to Kenya. And as soon as I came back, I decided to try entrepreneurship. So I said, okay, rather than look for work, let me try. And this was driven by two reasons. I think at that time, M-Pesa was maybe 3 years in. And everyone was talking about, mobile money, the possibilities of technology.
Yeah.
So there was this whole buzz and interest around that when I came back. The second thing is the market that time, at least from an employment standpoint, was not really conducive to anyone who studied hardware.
Okay.
There were some adjacencies like, in telecom, you could do work around base stations.
Yes.
Or, towers, or basically infrastructure. But generally speaking, outside of that, there were not that many opportunities. So I said, okay, let me try my hand at
So what did you decide to build? Or what did you decide to start?
So initially, I decided to do IT consulting.
Yes.
The good thing is, as long as you know computers, you could you could market yourself.
Yes.
And everyone at that time needed some solution, some system.
Yeah.
And since I already had studied software, I wanted to put my skills to use.
Okay.
So in 2011, I set up a company, started doing some work. And yes, I think when I got now my first job or my first contract, when I was now looking to get paid, they said, yes, send me a tax invoice, or ETR, as we call them.
Yes.
So yeah, I was like, okay, now how do you get this ETR? So I called an accountant friend. He was like, okay, first of all, you need an ETR machine. I'm like, okay, where do you get one? So they told me where to get one. I went, I bought it. And I remember it took me such a long time just to get set up.
Yes.
I even had like a training manual. It was very long. And I had to figure it out. So I did the first one, I did the second one. At the third, I'm like, wow, this is really quite some work. Yeah. It must be an easier way. But anyway, I continued in that vein. And then in 2013, I teamed up with 2 business partners. And then I started a business called Flashcast. Now, Flashcast was actually the very opposite from consulting, but still a technology business. But what we did is we partnered with matatus and installed screens inside.
Yes.
Now, the screens are not your TV screens, but the ones you'd see like scrolling some text, like what you'd see in Forex bureaus, scrolling the exchange rate and all that. Yeah. So, but we thought there's an opportunity. So the context here is, this is back in 2013.
Yeah.
There is not even that much usage of smartphones. From our observations, people would spend quite a bit of time in public transport to work, from work, reading a newspaper, reading a book. Very few people had smartphones then. So we thought this was a captive audience. On your way to work or, wherever you're going, we can show you messages. And so we sold adverts on that space. But then we also introduced things like, they had a GPS. So we knew where the screens were at any one time. So we started doing location-based advertising. So for example, if you're passing CBD and you want people to know about your business in CBD, it can actually show you an ad when you're in CBD. Exactly.
So GPS, the GPS is in the mat, is in the car, whatever screen gadget. Exactly. And as you're passing there, it starts talking to you about, hey, this company here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was it.
That was quite creative.
Yeah.
How was that received?
Well, it was received very well. Very many small businesses liked it because we decided to slice and dice it, charge by the hour.
Yes.
Charge by the day.
Yes.
Charge by the week. So we tried to make it very dynamic and affordable. Because we're targeting people who could not target traditional media.
Okay.
Again, social media was not that big.
It was not become a big thing
it wasn't that big at that time.
Yeah.
So I did that for about 2 years. And then in 2015, I got an opportunity now to go into employment. But now I joined at least a young company then. And they were looking for someone to lead their technology arm. So I joined Twiga Foods at the end of 2015.
Okay.
I was the first member of the technology team.
Did you park the entrepreneurship completely, or you just parked that bus and went now into employment full time?
Yeah. So the thing is, at that time, I had been doing consulting and Flashcast in parallel.
Yes.
So consulting was very easy to pause. Yes. Then for Flashcast, there's actually a lot of interest in the hardware and the assets and the gadgets.
Yes.
So I was very easily able to transition that and then now focus full time on.
Transition means sell out? Or
yes, people actually bought the assets.
People bought the assets?
People bought the assets.
And you were good?
And I was good.
Okay.
But I think the biggest thing for me that time was the learnings.
Yes. What were the learnings, just by the way?
Because this is a business you start from scratch. The other thing is from an entrepreneurship standpoint, you get to learn the ins and outs of building a business.
Yeah.
What works, what doesn't work. What people are comfortable with.
Yes.
I remember when we were first figuring out the hardware, we had to test a lot of different variations.
Yeah.
And so there's a time we needed to test it inside a matatu. So we went with the let me call it a contraption.
Yeah.
Because it had open wires and everything. We're just trying to make sure the hardware works. Now, when we entered the matatu, people are not sure what this is. Yeah. And they're asking us, who are you guys? Yeah. What is this you're bringing? Will it blow up on us? Yeah. So, actually some people said, no, us, we don't know what this is. We're going to step off.
Yeah.
We're going to leave a loophole. We don't want to play with these gadgets. Yeah. So, I mean, those are kind of things. Those are the journeys of entrepreneurship.
So maybe the right time to pose a question.
Yeah.
You picked a line that is very contextual.
Yes.
In an African setting.
Yes.
There are very few, I'd say, global countries in the global West and in Japan, where you studied, Australia, where you can get templates for things like something that will work in a matatu.
Yes.
So maybe let's speak a bit about what your learnings were from building a contextual business. Like, for example, that story you've told us about the gadget that you are testing and people wondering, what's this guy bringing? Those are things that you can't see sitting in the back of the room, or in the back of a desk. You have to get on the ground and get in. So what were your lessons around building an African contextual business?
That's a great question. The way I look at it is, everything, there's this saying, politics is local, but business is local. Almost everything is local.
Yes.
Yeah. And the reality is, when you're building a business, there are things you can read or be told, and the things you have to learn.
Yes.
And for me, the one key thing was always, can you find out the ground truth, or vitu kwa ground, as they say. What is actually the reality? Yeah. So that was the first thing I needed to figure out and understand, what is really happening. And then the thing is, you can have an idea, you can create a business plan in your head, but what are the realities? So for example, in Flashcast, what you needed, the first thing was to convince the owner of the vehicle. Yeah. Can I install this? Because, they have questions. Okay, will it drain my battery? Yeah, where will you put it? Will it damage my car? Will people be comfortable with it? So that's the first hurdle. This is unlikely something you're going to face in other places.
Yes.
Then the second thing is convincing the driver and the conductor. The reason even we had to do that test in the vehicle during the day is they said, this vehicle cannot stop. Yeah, it has to keep running because we have a business to run and we have targets to meet.
The vehicle is the business.
Yes.
So you can't come to your workshop
can't stop,
and then until you test. There'll be no cash flow for that day.
Exactly. Those days I didn't have the budget to get a vehicle off the road. The alternative was you wait at night and then you go do it where it's parked. But the thing is, you'll never know where the vehicle is parked. Sometimes it's parked at a petrol station. Sometimes it's parked at the owner's house. So it's a very dynamic situation. So you'd rather deal with it during the day. So those are the things what are the dynamics? Who are the stakeholders? Yeah, who do you need to convince? The passengers are also stakeholders. Because what we had done is we had built a kind of closed social network.
Yes.
So if you see the screen and you're in the vehicle, you could actually send a message and it appears. But you don't know, we had to convince people, send a message.
Yes.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, why am I sending a message? Does it cost me? Yeah. Will you show my number? So there are all these concerns and assurances people want. So there's a lot of trust building that you typically may not find in other places.
Yes.
Simply because it's new,
it's
novel. But, once people get around to it, it tends to get a life on its own and picks up traction.
Yes.
So it started picking up a life of its own. People they started suggesting topics. One of the things we did is because the vehicle had a GPS, we gave the owner of the vehicle fleet tracking for free. Because ours was a different purpose.
Yes.
But they'd like to know where is the vehicle. As anyone who knows the matatu industry, there's always calls, uko wapi, umefika wapi. So we gave them a dashboard where that was no longer an issue. You just log in and you see where the vehicle is. So with time they came around and that really helped. My takeaway there in terms of just contextualizing a business is take time to learn who your stakeholders are.
Yes.
You'll have to do a lot of trust building. The idea may be perfect in your head. Yeah. It's just like podcasting. If I told someone about podcasting 8 years ago, like, but do you have an audience? How are you distributing? I'd rather go to radio or TV.
Yeah.
But now this medium is as popular and as strong as any other one.
Agreed.
But a lot of that initial context and, convincing people that it's actually a thing, it took time. And that's the story of the African entrepreneur. You have to be willing to wait it out and convince someone that what you're building actually has value. But you also have to build trust and make sure people are comfortable with what you're doing. Yeah.
Okay. So you park this bus,
Yes.
you take the learnings,
Yes.
and you now go into employment.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're in at that time, which was quite a forward-thinking technology company.
Yes.
Cutting edge Twiga Foods. So how was that journey in the job? I know it's not really about Twiga Foods, but
Yes.
about your role,
Yes.
technical role in that entity.
Yeah. So when I joined, this is when venture capital was really kicking off in Africa.
It's around what,
2014? Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
I joined end of 2015.
Yes.
But 2014 is when really the tide started turning.
Agreed.
In terms of venture capital. People are now willing to invest in ideas. We've always had an ecosystem or a culture where we want to invest in hard assets, land, buildings, something you can touch.
Yeah.
So venture capital was a breath of fresh air in that respect. And Twiga had just gotten some funding at that point, and they were looking for a CTO. So when I joined, it was very interesting because one, in as much as they had figured out supply chain, they wanted someone who can now come and bring in the technology angle, because the next step was now efficiency and scale. So technology was the way to do that. But then at that point, as now I settled into the job, we now had to start thinking, okay, how do we engage and introduce farmers to technology? Do we build for them apps? Do we give them tools? What are we doing for farmers?
Yes.
Likewise, what are we doing for vendors? And what's the story for vendors? Yeah. So really the question then became, how do you sell value? How does technology improve their lives? Yeah. And so, one of the learnings was sometimes there can be too much technology. When we talked to farmers, they're like, look, I just want to know when I'll get paid and that you're good for your money. And if your technology helps me do that, fantastic. Because, for them, you're used to a scenario where you're dealing with brokers. Someone comes to your farm, buys your produce, they pay you on the spot, and that's it. So you need to come with a value proposition that gets more money in their pockets faster. So the question was, how does technology help in that respect? Now, once you've solved that, then you can have all these other value-added initiatives, farmer engagements, advice, and all that. And it was the same thing with vendors. So our target market was, kiosks, mama mbogas, hawkers, basically the informal trade.
Yes.
We're basically trying to give them good quality produce at the best price. And the question was, how does technology do that? So a lot of my time was spent thinking, how does technology work for the average citizen or the common one, if you like? So, to summarize it, in my 7.5 years there, we were able to introduce e-commerce.
Yes.
Because by the time I was leaving, I think 70% of our orders were online, which is it seems like an easy thing to do, but it needs a very dedicated effort to get people to change their habits.
Yeah.
Because these are people who would wake up, go to the market in the morning, they know they have their person, so they would go and know who to order from. They had credit terms. Those who were buying from distributors had, the same thing, good networks. So how does technology, why should I move? That was really the question we tried to answer rather. In addition, it was a question of making sure they're comfortable using technology. So really simplifying it, making it very straightforward.
Yeah.
Now, at that point, smartphones had really picked up. But, most people, the interpretation of smartphones at that time was maybe WhatsApp on Facebook. Yeah, that is the A and the Z of their smartphone usage. Anything else was not really in it for them. They would still basically use it like a feature phone, making calls, SMSs, the like. And then if you tell them, we have an app or use Twiga's online platform, they'll tell you things about my phone will be too slow, my memory is full, I don't have bundles.
Yes.
So there are all these things to think through, and to try overcome.
Mm-hmm.
But be as it may, at the end of my stint there, we got all our farmers, having converted to using mobile money. 70% of our orders were coming from people ordering themselves on their phone. And, my takeaway from that was, it's one thing to say, I can build an app, and you can have the best app or the best design or the best idea in your head. But getting it used is a really, really dedicated effort in terms of understanding what would the hesitations be? Why would they not want to use it? Can that be solved through the design or the distribution of the platform? What are the incentive structure? We're all humans. We're driven by incentives. So what's the benefit of you moving to e-commerce? So, anyone designing technology in Kenya and in Africa, you must think through your incentive structure. There have been very many initiatives that have not worked out. One initiative that I know, this was from my Flashcast days, that has been tried many times is digitizing bus fare payments.
Yes.
And they've been
many people have tried.
So many.
Yeah.
The thing though is our learnings there were, who are the stakeholders and what is the incentive? Yeah. The way I used to think of it is the driver and the conductor, they're basically renting the bus for the day because they pay a fixed fee to the owner. The owner requires the vehicle to be filled up again, and then whatever remains is there. That's generally how the matatu industry works.
Yes.
So the driver and the conductor are effectively leasing the vehicle for the day. So if you bring in digital payments, how does that satisfy their needs, or how does that incentivize them? In my view, that was a missing piece, and I always took that lesson with me in my journey.
Okay.
Who are the stakeholders? How do you incentivize them?
Who are the stakeholders? Yeah. How do you incentivize them?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what we need in the market.
Yeah, and that's pretty applicable in almost everything. You need to do, not just from of course, even more from a technological perspective, because you want high adoption.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was a 7.5 years. Then now leaving Twiga Foods, that's now when we came to DigiTax and all these matters.
So let's now start.
Yes.
Yeah, from that time when you had your experience with the ETR in your first business.
Yes.
To the time when you've now gone, you're not a young man anymore. You've had a full career.
Yes.
You've worked in your other business. You've done 7.5 years in employment, and now you come. So what do you see, and what is DigiTax?
Yeah, so DigiTax is a software platform.
Yes.
And what we're really trying to do is simplify tax compliance.
Okay.
So the backstory is, my experience, of course, having used an ETR before. But also it was now at a point where governments were willing to invest in technology and modernize their tax system.
Yes.
And it's just not happening in Kenya. It's happening across the continent and beyond. Now, I think governments came to the realization that if we want to be more efficient in terms of tax administration, we need to invest in technology and take a technology-led or technology-first approach.
Yes.
And so the laws supporting electronic invoicing, the regulations, and even governments themselves investing in systems to enable exchange of information has greatly improved over the last 7-8 years. So in Kenya, for example, we moved from ETR to Teams. Teams was essentially a device-based tax invoicing, but that device had an internet connection, and that device would now send information to KRA.
Yes.
Now, the change with eTeams is you don't need a hardware device. It can all be done via software. So anyone in business or anyone with access to a mobile phone or access to technology should be able to submit a tax invoice in real time.
Yes.
The other goal there is if you then simplify that, you then simplify the subsequent processes, because there is, the information you send, and then there is filing, And then, of course, there's payment of taxes. But that first step was always a time-consuming exercise.
Yeah.
Because you'd either have to fill it in manually, cross-reference with many other sources of information. But now the whole idea around e-teams or electronic invoicing more broadly was to simplify and make that process more efficient.
Okay.
So, yeah, as DigiTax, we felt it's a space we could play in for two reasons. One, I have a technology background. And I felt, now having left Twiga Foods, I still saw the same issue there, actually. We had to buy a device. We always had to reconfigure it because the device could not handle the capacity of our transactions.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, there's still something that needs to be fixed and addressed. And asking other businesses, like, this device is a challenge for us. Can something be done? So, entrepreneurship is also about acquiring an opportunity.
Yes.
And capturing that opportunity. You never want to fall into the trap of vanity ideas.
Yeah.
Ideas just because you like them or you're passionate, but there's no business case.
True.
So I came to the conclusion in my head, if you build a compelling solution, people are willing to actually pay for it. And you see, the thing about tax is, we found them and we will leave them. Yeah?
Yes.
Taxes are eternal, I
Agreed.
like to say.
Yeah.
So I felt it's a sustainable business. And if executed well, it can do very well over the long term. Yeah. So I started this in 2023. The first 18 months was essentially just getting licensed. So this was
by who?
By KRA. So the way it works is you first build a solution. But because you're doing electronic invoicing,
yes,
your solution has to be certified and approved
by the tax
authority. Yeah. So the first thing was build a solution, take it to them. They then verify and ensure it meets what they want, and then they license.
And what does that verification process look like?
So there are two aspects to it. So once you've built your solution,
yes,
there's a whole list of requirements and functionality that it has to have, aligned with e-invoicing regulations. Yeah. So they need to know, how are you protecting data? Is it safe? Yeah. Are you transmitting information in the format we require? Yeah. How have you thought about, sealing any loopholes, for example? So those are the things. So you'll go through a checklist.
Yes.
Once you're satisfied, that's a technical assessment. Then there'll be a business evaluation. So who are you? Are you actually who you say you are? Are you good for this business? Because if you think about it, it's a space where the government or the taxman wants comfort that once this is rolled out, you just fly with the wind and then leave taxpayers with a gap.
Lights,
Yes. So they also want to make sure that you're good for who you are operationally as a business. So once you satisfy those two criteria, you then get licensed and certified. Then you can go offer your
And how was the experience for you from the other side? With the taxman, did you feel that on the technological front, they were at par with you? Or what was your experience with them in that? Particularly because you are then going to attempt to take this to other African jurisdictions, not just Kenya.
Yeah, so it was actually a very good experience because one, I got to get a very good understanding of how governments think about technology. The one thing I'll say is, it comes to taxes, or, the government's own money. They are very willing to invest in technology and forward-thinking ideas to ensure that they can maximize revenue assurance.
Yes.
So it's one of the entities where, there's a lot of investment in technology and an effort to make sure that they have solutions for the marketplace.
Okay.
So even in our case, when we were really having those conversations, I was talking with fellow professionals in the IT space.
Yes.
And these are people who you could talk the same language on a technical level. So if there are any, issues or gaps or suggestions, you're talking the same language in that respect, which is very refreshing. It's not something you can say for too many government departments.
Yes.
And then the thing is, because you're in a space where you're essentially helping the government collect revenue, provided they're satisfied with what you have to offer, then getting started is not that difficult. Typically it's the opposite, where I need a license, I need a document, I need to satisfy XYZ regulations. Not that wasn't there in this case, but once you satisfied them,
yes,
because your business is helping the government to meet a revenue objective, you tend to find that process much more straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we then use that learning to expand into other markets. But the good thing is you already know what to expect. You know what kind of questions will be asked, how to make sure that certification cycle is as short as possible.
Okay.
And so whereas Kenya took, I'd say, 6 months, or actually no, so more like 9 months end to end.
Yes.
Zambia, which is our second country, took 6 months. Nigeria, which is our third country, took about 4 months.
Okay.
And this is in terms of building a solution and being ready for certification.
So you build the solution, you get certified by the tax authority in the respective country.
Yes.
But who are you selling the solution to?
So once you're certified and once you're licensed, you now offer your solution in the marketplace. And you see, most governments, as far as this is concerned, it's an open licensing regime.
Yeah.
If you have a solution that we are happy with, we're happy to license you. And then you go sell your solution.
Okay.
So you're competing with everyone else. And so now that's why you have to differentiate yourself.
Yes.
You know, what's your value?
Okay.
You know, how do you help me as a business? How do you make sure that I am not offside when it comes to my tax matters?
Yes.
How does your solution help me do that?
Yeah.
So now it's actually a marketplace.
Okay.
So in our case, we decided to build, we have about 4 solutions. So we have a mobile app for the individual entrepreneur or for the micro business. We have online tools, online portals for larger businesses, or people just prefer to do their invoicing on computers. And then for larger businesses, you offer an integration.
Yeah.
So because you probably have your own system, you know, you already have a certain way of working.
Yeah.
We just plug in to what you have.
So let's take examples of each three of the three: the micro business or the solo entrepreneur, the online tools, and the big business.
Yes.
How does that work? I come to you. Each one of them comes to you, and they are seeking a DigiTax solution.
Sure. So for the micro and small business, what we would first ask is, what line of business are you in? So we make sure we configure your taxes correctly. You know, how do you generate invoices? And how many users would you like to use the solution? With those 3 things, we can then now configure it for you. So then go set up your business, you know, put in your tax details. You'll sign up, and then we'll help you activate your account.
Okay.
Once your account is activated,
yes,
you can essentially do all your business on your phone, at least as far as tax invoicing is concerned.
Yes.
So let's take the example of here. You come here and maybe say you charge to rent this room.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then this person says, okay, no problem. I'm happy to pay you, but please give me a tax invoice. Yeah. You may decide, because I'm a solo entrepreneur, it's just easy to do it on my phone. So I'll ask you for your details, fill in everything, and then send it off to you. So that's one way of doing it.
Okay.
Alternative, you know, you may be a professional. You're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're an accountant, you do a lot of work on your computer.
Yes. So
if someone emails you and says, please send me a tax invoice, you just go online, fill in the details, and send it through. In the case of online, we also allow for you to share your account with someone else. So if you and I in the same business, or, you know, say I'm your accountant or your auditor and you need access to that information, I can actually go and log in and basically see what you're seeing.
Yeah.
So if you share your business with me, I'm able to have that collaborative process together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm a big business, your needs are very different. What you're typically telling us is, I have this way of working, I have these processes.
Yeah.
This is my invoicing tool. Connect it automatically.
Okay.
So in that case, you're really not using anything we've built in terms of a user interface.
Yeah.
But to integrate for you and help you send it through to KRA.
Okay.
And that's the same in every market. So those solutions, it really depends on the size of business you are.
One would assume that the taxman is your friend, because that's something that's probably music to their ears. What you're doing is what they are trying to do, because at least I see it on the micro side, is you would onboard, if rightly executed, quite a few taxpayers and bring them into the tax bracket.
Absolutely. So, the thing about electronic invoicing is, prior to it, any automation was really targeted at the large taxpayers.
Yes.
Because of cost, because of complexity. That hardware wasn't cheap. So they would usually say, if you're above a certain threshold.
Yes.
Yeah. So 5 million shillings annual turnover and above. Yeah. Then you need to have a device.
Yes.
But with it, because it has really democratized collection of information.
Yes.
That's why you hear, stories of avocado farmers being on e-teams, and all those stories we're hearing. We were hearing last year.
Yeah.
So the thing is, for businesses and individuals, it's also for them to start being more formal and more organized and more compliant.
Yeah.
And then, as we were talking before we started recording, if you're thinking about this business long term, and maybe one day you want to sell it, when you're going through due diligence, one of the things they'll ask, okay, how are you collecting your sales?
Yeah.
Have you paid your taxes?
Agreed.
Is there a way to verify?
Okay.
So I usually tell businesses, look at it as a tool of empowerment. It actually distinguishes you.
Yes.
Now, with this whole new regime on e-invoicing, one of the things is businesses are saying, I can only trade with you if you give me a tax invoice.
Agreed.
Especially the big businesses.
Yes.
So if you come as a supplier, the first thing they ask you is, where is your invoice? And if you don't have an invoice, it becomes a very difficult conversation.
Yes.
But then you as a business also want to claim your expenses.
True.
So anytime you're buying something, you'll then ask for a tax invoice.
Okay.
And it basically, everyone now starts asking everyone for an invoice.
Yes.
And becomes a self-governing mechanism.
Yeah.
So then the question becomes, how easy is it? How quickly can I do it? How confident am I in platform X or Y?
Yeah.
Being able to solve this for me.
Okay.
So that's how we look at it.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now you've brought the topic that I want us to delve on a bit.
Yeah.
Which is, I consider myself a student of business. I think every entrepreneur in some shape or form is a student of business.
Yeah.
I remember one time talking to an old man who I considered a mentor. He has since passed on. And we were talking about being a businessman in the 90s in Kenya. And he was lamenting to me how he has paid, I think, 900,000 in tax versus a competitor who was slightly busier. They were both in the oil marketing space. Versus a competitor who was doing similar volumes, if not higher, and he paid 90,000 shillings. And I remember chastising the man who paid less in tax. And the response from the old man who was talking to me, who I still talk to today, the other one passed on, but this one is still around. And he says to me, Leonard, you have to consider that there was a time in Kenya where taxes were not working for the businessman. And as a result, evading taxes was actually a necessity of business because you paid a lot for your road maintenance if you were running a truck. The roads were not in good condition, your maintenance costs were high, and a lot of people evaded taxes in the late 80s and early 90s because it was a survival tool. It was not just them being greedy. Early 2000s, we saw, I guess, a reinvigoration of government delivery. And then now, the justification of paying taxes improved. You could Kenya has, over the last 2 decades, enjoyed immense road construction and so on. And there are various areas where we can honestly say there's been improvement over the last 20 years. And so even paying taxes, we still feel we're heavily taxed, and maybe we are. But now the willingness to pay, once you can see a better road, a better airport, or better this and that and the other, better technology, fiber optic cables coming and so on, and interconnectivity and so on, then the willingness to pay for that tax. So let's talk a bit about building compliant and thus sellable businesses, and how you feel that a product like DigiTax, which you obviously have African ambitions, having gone into Zambia and now into Nigeria, how you feel that ecosystem is evolving.
Yeah, thank you for that question. Building compliant businesses it's a fact of many things, but tax is a key, or tax compliance is a key aspect of it. One of the things I've learned in my entrepreneurial journey is a conversation will always move faster if your affairs are in order.
Yes.
Yeah, tax or anything else. So I've had the opportunity to be in discussions where businesses are being sold, or there's a potential buyer, and where it usually fails or doesn't conclude is on matters to do with a due diligence process, not yielding the right information or discovering the wrong information.
Yeah.
Or generally speaking, things did not check out. Yeah. Now, unfortunately, what tends to happen is the areas you overlook the most are the areas that trip you up. Yeah. So, for many businesses, tax is not what you wake up thinking about. You think about, making money, where are my sales coming from, and, how do I make sure at the end of the day, my books are in the good from a profit standpoint, which is all well and good and should be the case. But then there's all these, what I would call hygiene issues tied to running a business.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people don't tend to think about them until it's too late, or until you're in trouble. Yeah. So even let's put aside tax for one moment. So say you're running a restaurant. Yeah, you need a food handler certificate, for example. But you may say, you know what, it's not a big thing. Provided I'm washing my space or I'm keeping it clean, I'll sell. Then the day the county officials come and ask you, where's your food handler certificate? You're like, oh. Then it's an argument, they're shutting you down, all these unpleasant conversations. Now, I pick on that example just to show that there are so many things that go into running a compliant business.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big opportunity in general to make that process easier for people, because businesses don't spend too much time thinking about it. It's not their core business. Yeah. And that's the same approach we've taken with DigiTax. So with DigiTax, the way we think about it is we want to make businesses have the easiest compliance journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to make sure that businesses can actually have peace of mind when talking about anything to do with taxes and compliance. We want to make sure they have the right information at the right time and can make the right decisions and insights as they go about their affairs. We want to make sure they are not, losing out on anyone who maybe has given them a fake invoice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's very easy for people now that everyone knows the QR code is a confirmation that it's a tax invoice.
Yes.
Supposed to say that QR code hasn't been tampered with.
Agreed.
Has been repeated.
Yes.
Or is not even valid.
Because many people see it but don't look, don't scan it. Yeah.
Exactly. Then when you come to filing your paperwork, you're like, oh. But then by that time it's all late. The effort needed to trace that back. It's almost not worth it. But your business is effectively not compliant. So they become an inconsistency is created. Now, the thing I'll say is, having done this for a few years, it's not necessarily that businesses do not want to be compliant, but it's also a question of effort versus reward. One of the things we tend to see in Kenya, for example, is when people are doing annual returns around June. Of course, most of us wait until the last few days to start looking into this. And of course, as you file, because of the number of users, the systems seize up. Yeah. And then some people make the decision, look, there is too much traffic on the system. Let me do it later. You either forget or you willingly refuse to do it. And then this catches up with you. Now fines come, you start seeing you can't get a tax clearance certificate and so on and so forth. And these are things that now go against your record. So the way I look at it is investing early in being compliant, very, very useful down the road.
Yes.
It pays dividends way, way more than one can think about, especially if you have long-term plans and a long-term vision for your business. You may sell your business, you may want to hand it over to someone else, but you don't want to hand them problems. You want to hand them a business that's running as well and as smoothly as possible.
Okay.
So our job is to make sure at least the tax compliance aspect of it is not something you have to worry about.
What I like about what you say is I compliance is always an effort.
Yes.
And a reluctant effort many a time because many people want to run their businesses. But I look at it from the wealth creation perspective. I feel that Kenyan and African legacy businesses lose so much innate value by non-compliance. Someone's run a business for 20 years or 23 years. He's tired. He wants to cash out. He has the proven track record of running the business. And then you watch this transaction that would give him capital to either go kick up his heels under a coconut tree, enjoying margaritas. Yeah. But with the comfort of the value he created, he has managed to translate into wealth and store elsewhere. And you see all this fall apart because of compliance. So one of the things that I would really like to see more of, and it's interesting to hear the DigiTax story because I think it contributes to that, is Africans building sellable businesses. So that we're human. You'll get tired. You'll get bored. Or unlock this value, cash out the value you have created, get a check for it, and move on to other things.
Go do farming or retire.
Go do farming, retire under a tree, or go open a beach bar somewhere and have conversations your whole day.
Yes.
Because of the hard work and reap the fruits of the hard work. But I find so many entrepreneurs struggling with that. And it's good to see a business of this nature.
Thanks. And what I'll say just to add to what you've shared is, anytime you're building a business, build for the long term.
Yes.
The thing about building for long term is the early discipline is what will increase the chances of success. Yeah.
Agreed.
And it can be any kind of business. I know of people who've sold kiosks, but because their books were in order, everything was, prim and proper, such an easy conversation.
Excellent.
Yeah. I've seen also, people trade, even just take shares. The thing about at any publicly tradable company is the NSE and Capital Markets Authority require you to have they're very strict about auditing and information. The thing is, if I'm making a decision, I have comfort because the governance has been built. These companies are reporting information that has gone through an audit or a governance process, and I can easily make a decision. If you apply the same principles to your business, good bookkeeping, timely accounts, being compliant, whether at national or regional level, you're building a case.
Yeah.
Think of it as a brand index of trust.
Okay.
You're building all these things around people saying, not only have you run a business well, but you've run it right. Yeah?
Agreed.
So that's usually what I encourage businesses to think about. Yeah.
As we wind up, let's talk about the future.
Yes.
I really like listening to stories of Kenyan businesses or African businesses that have set their sights on Africa as their platform.
Yeah.
And you are not just saying it, you're doing it because you already operate in Zambia and Nigeria. So what does the future look like for DigiTax, and what else have you set your sights on the African continent?
Okay. Yeah, good question. Thank you. We have plans to basically provide the best compliance experience in Africa and beyond. One of our slogans, it's more like an inside joke, is we say we want to make the process less taxing. Not that you pay less taxes, but it's less burdensome.
Yeah.
So for us, the whole idea is, this gospel of simplified tax compliance. We want it to be in every market we're in. We want people to think of us as the least pain, or the most efficient way to be tax compliant. Least painful, least effortless, however you want to put it. The other thing also is we want to be able to say, for African entrepreneurs, that you've helped them on their journey to build a more compliant business. The thing we're talking about today. Because the day you really want to exit the business, you will say, look, I feel there's that satisfaction that I did it right. It's helped me achieve an outcome, and everyone is happy all around. For us, distinctly as DigiTax, one of the things we've seen, as we've grown across the continent, is, businesses are very happy to pay for value and to invest in solutions that they feel add value. So that's a question we're always asking ourselves. How do we add value? How do we provide value? How do we make sure we are always not just setting the bar, but raising the bar against ourselves?
So where do we see you going in the next few years?
The goal is to be in more African countries, so we'll be expanding across the continent. We'll also be investing in talent and human resources across the continent. So we have staff in all 3 countries, contributing from a technology and, of course, business perspective. And with time, because we're working this journey with businesses, there'll definitely be an opportunity to build for them more solutions. So it's not just saying tax compliance, but okay, now that we've helped you, handle your tax affairs, what else can we do with you? So value-added services is definitely on the menu down the road.
Wow, Caine, very interesting discussion. I never knew tax could be interesting, but
it can be.
Excellent. Thank you very much. We wish you all the best with your DigiTax journey, and as you continue to grow and provide solutions to, I like what you said, to African countries and beyond.
Absolutely.
So maybe I'll give you a chance to speak to the audience and tell them where they can find DigiTax locally, on the continent, and we see where, and we can then wrap up.
Awesome. So thank you for listening. If you'd like to know more about DigiTax, please visit digitax.tech online or search for DigiTax. We're also available on X, LinkedIn. We're also on TikTok. So if you want to know about taxes on TikTok, we're also there. And we are happy to walk your tax compliance journey with you. So please feel free to reach out, and we'd be happy to serve you. Thank you.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 39 of the African Do podcast, where we tell stories of excellent Africans executing excellently. And today we were privileged to have Caine Wanjau of DigiTax telling us about their Africa-wide compliance journey, how they are helping African businesses become compliant and thus unlock greater value and wealth in the long term. Thank you very much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you in episode 40.